Hello, it's Sri here, and I'm joined by my good friend, Dr. Dan Kessler. Dan, say hello.
Good evening, Sri.
Good, very good. And I know we're about to wrap up the Travelers. It's going to be an interesting Sunday with Keegan Bradley um, and Chaz Reavy, I think, who won the Travelers. But I think what we want to do is that we want to pivot to the third major in tennis, which is Wimbledon. We're about 10 days away, but due to our schedules, we wanted to record this early. And let me just set up the stage, and then I'll quickly have Dan chime in as well. So Wimbledon is going to start on July 3rd. In about 10 days, Djokovic has cemented his place as the world number one. He will be the number one seed, followed by Alcaraz number two, and I believe Medvedev is three, and Rudd is four. And Djokovic, fresh from the French Open win, we will also have an opportunity to equal Roger Federer's record of 8 Wimbledons. So I'm going to pause here and have Dan chime in. And Dan, who do you think are the favorites to contend for this year's Wimbledon? And then I'll come back with mine, and then we'll also do some kind of a sleeper pick as well.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll give you my two favorites, and then we can come back and do the sleeper later. Yeah, so it's hard, obviously, it'd be hard not to go with Joker as the favorite, and my pick to win the Wimbledon, win his 7th, like you said. Hard to believe. I can't believe he's going to match Federer potentially if he wins this Wimbledon as you know, having the most titles. But yes, coming off, he's won the first 2 majors of the year. Obviously the Australian Open, and then followed by an impressive performance at the French. So he's half the way to the calendar year Grand Slam, and this would be the third leg. And he shows. I don't believe he's playing one of the tune-ups this week. And he knows his body. He knows, after all these, years of experience, what he needs to do in order to be ready. But I just don't see anyone stopping him. So definitely him. Maybe he'll drop 1 or 2 sets. I would say in the tournament. And then my second pick, I'm going to go with Sinner, the Italian. Last year, I believe Sinner knocked off Alcaraz either in the 3rd or 4th round. I read today somewhere. I'm not sure. I think he got to the quarters last year before getting knocked off. But
yes, he did.
Yeah, but he's been playing well this year. He's solid, and I think his game is a little more suited to the grass. He can, he's not afraid to come to the net. Good volleyer. So yeah, that'd be my 2 picks: Joker, which is kind of everyone's pick, I'm sure, and then followed by Sinner.
Yeah, I think that's a very good pick about Sinner. I completely forgot about Sinner because I think he was not that effective in the French Open. Obviously, the court surface has a lot to do with it. One thing I can say is that, and I agree with you on Djokovic, he's like a man on a mission. Not only he just captured his 23rd, he definitely want to go for number 8. I mean, he's big on the numbers part of things. And number 8 to tie with Roger Federer. And the other thing is that he came 1 Grand Slam short a couple of years ago because he lost the U.S. Open to Medvedev, I believe. So he is a man on a mission, and that's something on his mind. That's something that has not been done since Rod Laver did it in 1969. So, and we will get to the U.S. Open later. We'll do that later. But for now, I agree with you that he's the favorite. The other person I was thinking was I was actually watching the Queen's tournament, which is like a tune-up to the Wimbledon. And Alcaraz was very solid against Sebi Korda of USA. And I watched a little bit of Dimonor match against Rune as well. And I think they do face the final tomorrow. And he's definitely played well. He had a little scare in the early part of the rounds. But I think Alcaraz was saying that, his game is starting to kind of, be more suitable for grass. But I still give the edge to Djokovic. So for me, it's Djokovic and Alcaraz. For you, it's Djokovic and Sinner. Now let's get down to the sleeper pick, and I'll go first, and then you can go next. I'm going to go with Casper Ruud. Even though this is not a surface that typically suits him, he has played well. Got to this French Open final, as you know, and I believe that he's got the game, he's got the strokes, he's got the serve. So he would be my sleeper pick. And how about you, Dan?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the American Taylor Fritz. I think he's currently ranked. We just looked up the rankings. I think he's number 8 on the ATP Tour, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, I think his game is well suited to both the hard court at the U.S. Open as well as the grass surface here at Wimbledon. And he's got a great serve, wicked forehand, adequate backhand and net game too. He's got good volleys. So it's basically the game you need to have to win Wimbledon. So I think last year he got to the quarters. I remember now it's coming back to me watching that match against Rafa. It was I think a 5-setter against Rafa.
Right.
I want to say Fritz was ahead. Rafa came back and Rafa won that match despite being injured. And then, as we know, Rafa then had to default his next round, I believe, to Kyrgios, right?
Right.
And Kyrgios had to walk over into the final against Djokovic last year. There was a lot of controversy, I remember, surrounding that saying that maybe Nadal maybe should have given up or let Fritz win that match, or maybe they were saying even though Fritz won or Fritz lost, maybe he should have been allowed to play Kyrgios in that next round as opposed to having no competition for Kyrgios in that match. So I remember that now. It was very controversial that semifinal last year. So yeah, Fritz, like I said, got to the quarter last year, played a great match against Rafa, and I think he's poised to make a run again, at least to the quarters, if not the semis and further.
Yeah, and it'll be good to see an American, back in the semis as well. So there we are, right? I mean, we have Djokovic going for the unprecedented number 24, number 8, and then Alcaraz trying to get his second major after I would call it a disappointment at the French Open. When he developed cramps against Djokovic. That just shows you how Djokovic is so incredibly fit, no, despite he was 16 years older than Alcaraz, he still managed to win that. So that's where we are. And then maybe we can quickly, dive into the women's if you have time. And I think we're going to go with the usual suspects, I think. And I'm going to go with Iga. I think she's just playing incredible. And my second pick would be, I would say, Sabalenka. And then I might pick Jessie Pegula as a sleeper pick there.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm with my French pick, Rybakina. Only reason I'm saying that, I saw something on Twitter or some social media this week, a quote by Roddick saying that Rybakina is the best player on grass. You'd be crazy not to pick her. So I haven't watched a whole lot of Rybakina. I know she got hot and won Australian, I believe, and she's been playing pretty good tennis overall, though she did get upset early at the French. But I'm going to go with Rybakina, and then I'll go with Iga too, the two of them, because it's like you said, Iga is hard to pick against her, even though grass might not be her surface, but she looks like she's just really, really playing top tennis right now.
Yeah, I think she's kind of turned the corner, I think, ever since she's started to win. Right now she's multiple winner. So I definitely think that she's poised to be the next great one in women's tennis.
I'm just curious one thing, Sri. Also, I know we this isn't really talk about the Wimbledon this year, but I'm just more historical. I'm just curious what your memories are of Wimbledon. Your first memories. I don't know if that was more in India, going up there watching a specific match player. I'm curious what you're just talking in the broad sense about the Wimbledon here. I'm curious.
Absolutely. That's a good question. My first memory was Borg. I was always a big fan of Bjorn Borg from Sweden, who retired very early, if I'm not mistaken, at 26 years old, won 11 majors, won the French Open, won the Wimbledon also 5 times. And, he beat McEnroe. And that was my first memory I believe it was 1980 Wimbledon. It was a classic, and I think they even made it into a HBO
Yeah.
like a documentary. So for me, Borg was always my favorite. Um, and anytime or McEnroe, and at that time we had Connors as well, and you had the greats as Vitas Gerlatas and others as well. But for me, Borg was always my idol growing up, and that was my first memory watching him play. And again, since I grew up in India till about
Right.
1993, Becker was again another favorite of mine when he beat Kevin Karn. I still remember
Yeah.
that as a 17-year-old. Boom Boom Becker was the thing. And then I famously remember the great rivalries that Becker had with Stefan Edberg and Andre Agassi as well. So I know, since you asked me, and I will go back to who your childhood idols were, and especially when it comes to Wimbledon, because it's still one
Yeah.
of the places to be.
Yeah, I'm a few years younger, about 8 years younger than you. So I never had the opportunity really to watch play on TV or anything. Just only in the documentaries and the historic footage. So I can't comment on that. But my first memory, I think, is probably that Becker Curran match that you referenced. That was probably around 80. I don't know. I'm thinking like 85, 86, something like
85.
85. So that's my first
85.
real memory. I'm sure I watched a little bit of McEnroe and stuff like that prior to that, but my first real memory of like getting into tennis when I started growing up and playing it and then watching was definitely Becker, this teenager, this 17-year-old West German teenager, just with that booming serve and pretty hot temper, um, and yeah, just that amazing run he made. No one had ever heard of him really prior to that Wimbledon where he won. And then, of course, like you referenced, I loved Edberg, Stefan Edberg, just a classic player, classic serve and volleyer. Just uncanny ability to get to net, great hands. So I like the Becker Edberg rivalry that lasted for a few years there, and then Sampras, of course. Once Sampras took over,
Of
he
course.
became the Federer before the Federer's run. Sampras owned Wimbledon. He was I forget how many he won. If Federer
14. Oh, no, I mean,
14,
Sampras won 7, I believe. Sampras won
yeah,
7 Wimbledons, I think. Yeah.
yeah, so he was just he owned Wimbledon for many years, and he was just just his serve was just booming. No one could break him ever on grass. So those are my definite memories. So yeah, Sampras, Becker, Edberg. Those are my three that I really enjoyed watching. And also remember Pat Cash. I remember making Pat
Yes.
Cash. For some reason that sticks out with the headband. He had a nice run one year where he won. I
Beat
forget
Lendl. He
the
beat
Lendl.
Lendl in the final. Yes, he beat
Yeah,
Lendl in the final.
remember
And
that.
I think that was after the famous comment by Lendl saying only cows eat grass. So I think Pat Cash, I think, denied Wimbledon title for Ivan Lendl. But I think it's a good point on the Sampras. It is almost like passing the torch for Federer. I think Federer beat him in the fourth round, when Sampras lost to him. And it was Federer's run after that. I never thought anybody could surpass Federer.
Right.
Surpass Sampras with 14. But when we just probably have watched an incredible, um, I would say, 2 decades of tennis with Federer winning 20, Rafa 22, and Djokovic 23 and not done yet.
Yeah.
And I think for the three to have dominated it, and we've been lucky because even in the old days, whether it's like Borg, McEnroe, Connors, or even with Sampras, Agassi, Becker, Edberg, I don't think we've ever saw domination like what we've just seen in the last 2 decades.
Yeah.
So
67 Grand Slams. I'm counting right now. I think 20. Yeah, 67 between the three of them. That's unreal.
unreal. Yeah. So no, I think that's good to we had a little segue there, but for those in the audience, I'll try to do a recap. I know with all the travel schedules, we'll try to do a recap of Wimbledon, maybe after the tournament is done. But for now, enjoy the Wimbledon, and we'll be back again. And thank you, Dan, again for your time, and have a good vacation.
Thank you. Safe travels to you as well.
All right. Thank you. Bye. Good night.
Good night.